Hello everyone, I'm Eggy, and it feels great to see you guys again. Today I'm not making this video as a reporter, but instead as a gamer. I've seen many different types of games throughout the years, and I fell in love with one category in particular, which is called the strategy game. In this category, there are action strategy games, card strategy games, but for today we'll focus on massive multiplayer online strategy games, or MMO for short, and we'll talk about this game in particular, Game of Thrones Winter is Coming. I was interested in playing this game because, just like everyone else, I am also a huge Game of Thrones fan, and this game is an officially licensed browser game by HBO and was made based off the original TV show. With that in mind, I went into the game expecting nothing more than a game with some Game of Thrones characters and some features relevant to Game of Thrones. But what shocked me was the player community, consisting almost entirely of Game of Thrones fans and their passion for the game and show. I remember the first day after joining an alliance, I was invited to join the alliance Discord group, but the group chat was labelled Small Council Meeting. The most amazing part was when my fellow alliance members introduced themselves to me. They introduced themselves as Duke, the Maester, Hand of the King, instead of their in-game IDs. I guessed that I'd just have to play along, and I never looked back. I never knew that my action career would start in a video game. Now it's time to talk about the game features, so with that said, bring me my wine. First, we have all the characters from Game of Thrones. The Lannisters, Tyrion, Cersei and Jaime. The Stark family, with Arya, Sansa, Robb and Jon Snow. And then quite a few others like Marjorie and Varys. Last but not least, Daenerys, Stormborn of House Targaryen, the first of her name, the Unburnt, Queen of Meereen, Queen of the Andals and Rionar, of the first men, Khaleesi of the Great Grass Sea, Breaker of Trains and Mother of Dragons. Ooh, sorry, that part got a bit too emotional. Where were we? Oh yes, and then we have the Westeros continent, and all of the large cities in Westeros. Similar to Game of Thrones, whoever rules King's Landing is the king or queen of the Seven Kingdoms. The king or queen even gets a little crown on their castle, symbolising their royalty and divine lineage. Of course, in each alliance we also have different positions to be held besides those official positions. Most of the alliances create positions like Hand of the King, aka Tyrion. When you notice that one kingdom has too many Hand of the Kings, or too many Tyrions, it's a warning not to go to that kingdom, as they're probably trying to recreate the War of the Five Kings. Dragons are a must in Game of Thrones. In this game, every player can tame his own dragon and customise the dragon's colours. Because dragons are powerful creatures, having dragons in your army gives you strong buffs during battles. Recently, a new system has been added to the game, and it's called the Chronicler system. Spanning different servers and alliances, the Chronicler brings you the most updated news about battles and stories happening in-game. The mechanism of this system reminds me of something in Game of Thrones as well. Instead of calling them Chroniclers, we should really call them Ravens, who bring information to the Three-Eyed Raven, who in this case is apparently the game developer. I've read some interesting stories in the Chronicler system, and I'm about to tell you one of the most amazing stories I've heard. It was a quiet afternoon in Kingdom 95, a peaceful kingdom for the most part, with a group of alliances that are better off working together than warring each other. When a stranger landed in the midst of King's Landing, his name was Andy Nord. Andy Nord was soon joined by his accomplices, helping him in his attacks, as he proceeded to zero every single player in every major alliance in Kingdom 95 that was unbubbled. Andy used a fierce dragon skill to destroy all he came across, Legion damage skills. That increases enemy casualty rate by up to 10%. It reminded me of Daenerys, setting all her enemies on fire with her 3 great dragons. The good king of the server, Joe Malone, was fast asleep. He was not able to respond to the attacks, and in fact many alliances appeared to be caught off guard. Many were caught unbubbled and zeroed by Andy's unstoppable forces. All were attacked and killed, except for the king, Joe Malone. Angie knew that to zero the powerful king would cost too many troops this early in the crusade. After each hive had suffered the wrath of Andy Nord, he returned to King's Landing, awaiting the reaction of the king, but the king, Joe Malone, was nowhere to be found. On the second day, all the powerful players from every alliance joined the king in his defiance against Andy Nord. The battles were a magnificent sight to behold. 30 players at a time rallying Andy Nord, and from each hit they killed off 50 million power, which Andy Nord recovered in 10 seconds if it even took that long. It seemed that the monster that was Andy Nord could and would not be stopped. Why was Andy Nord doing this? Where was he from? What could he hope to gain? Everyone was asking the same questions. Soon, rumours started to circulate. According to some old members of Kingdom 95, just as Andy Nord was doing this to Joe's kingdom, so Joe had raised every hive in Kingdom 95 a long time ago. Until Andy Nord and most of the alliances in Kingdom 95 at the time had no choice but to leave, escape from Joe Malone's relentless attacks, moving to a different kingdom for protection. Andy Nord swore that he would gain his revenge and retake his kingdom, repaying Joe Malone in kind for the destruction of his kingdom. Andy Nord had kept his word, and relentlessly continued his raids on every alliance until unexpectedly one night he posted a message of truce in the world chat on the 27th of July 2020. It turned out that while Andy Nord had been set on the destruction of Kingdom 95, Joe Malone had apologised for what he had done all that time ago, and it softened Andy Nord's resolve. On the 28th of July 2020, peace was finally restored to Kingdom 95. Andy Nord moved back to King's Landing in Kingdom 97 shortly after the truce agreement, but for many of the alliances, Kingdom 95 would never be the same again. Okay, now we've done enough talking. It's time for gaming.